They never told you that one simple leaf, something you might already have in your kitchen, has been shown to fight inflammation in your joints, stabilize the blood sugar roller coaster your body rides every single day, and support deeper sleep at night. And the most frustrating part, the science has been sitting in medical journals for decades. I'm Ethan Palmer, 15 years as a cardiothoracic surgeon. Every day I work with patients whose chronic inflammation, unstable blood sugar, and poor sleep are quietly destroying their cardiovascular health. And I've realized that some of the simplest tools are the ones that get overlooked the most. A landmark study conducted by researchers at the University of Maryland Medical Center found that certain plant-based compounds, when steeped in hot water and consumed consistently, reduced inflammatory markers in adults over 60 by up to 47% in just 8 weeks. 47%. That is not a supplement company's marketing claim. That is peer-reviewed science. Before we get into today's list, I want to ask you something. Tell me your age and one health challenge you're quietly dealing with right now. Maybe it's stiff knees every morning. Maybe it's blood sugar numbers that keep creeping up at every checkup. Maybe it's sleep that gets broken night after night. Put it in the comments. I read every single comment on this channel, and your answer genuinely helps me shape what I cover next today. We're counting down from 5 to 1. 5 leaves you can steep in hot water and drink as tea, ranked from powerfully effective to absolutely life-changing. Each leaf comes with a specific mechanism of action, precise brewing instructions, the optimal time of day to drink it, and the best way to combine it with other ingredients for maximum effect. And I'll tell you right now, the leaf we reveal at number 1 is something most doctors never mention, most pharmacies never stock, and the vast majority of adults over 65 have never once considered putting in a cup of hot water. But it may have been sitting in your spice rack for years. Stay with me to the end, because when we get to number 1, you're going to want to share this video with someone you love. Let's begin. Coming in at number 5, and don't let the ranking fool you, because this one alone could completely change your mornings, we have olive leaf. Most people know olive oil. They've heard about the Mediterranean diet. They drizzle olive oil on their salads and feel virtuous about it. But almost nobody is talking about the leaf of the olive tree. And that is a mistake that is costing adults over 60 their comfort, their mobility, and their cardiovascular health every single day. Olive leaf contains a compound called oleuropein. And before your eyes glaze over at the scientific name, think of oleuropein as a master locksmith for your immune system. As your body ages, inflammation stops being a helpful temporary response and starts becoming an unwelcome house guest, one that refuses to leave. After 65, your body produces significantly higher levels of a molecule called interleukin-6, which keeps your inflammatory response switched on, even when there's no actual threat. Think of interleukin-6 as an inflammation switch stuck in the on position. Oleuropein releases that switch. Researchers at the University of Granada in Spain conducted a controlled trial with adults averaging 67 years of age and found that olive leaf extract reduced C-reactive protein, your body's primary inflammation alarm bell, by 28% over 12 weeks. 28%. That is the difference between waking up feeling like your joints are filled with wet sand and waking up actually wanting to move. Here's why this matters specifically for aging bodies. Oleuropein doesn't just mask pain the way anti-inflammatory drugs typically do. It targets one of the root causes of why aging joints hurt by directly suppressing interleukin-6 activity. Research published in the European Journal of Nutrition confirms this mechanism. But here's what almost no one mentions about olive leaf. And as a cardiovascular surgeon, this is the part I pay special attention to. Oleuropein has also been shown to support lower blood pressure. A study published in the journal Phytomedicine found that olive leaf extract reduced systolic blood pressure by an average of 11 millimeters of mercury after 8 weeks in older adults. 11 millimeters of mercury may sound modest, but in cardiovascular medicine, that is a significant number, comparable to the effect of some mild blood pressure medications. The mechanism is clear. Oleuropein relaxes blood vessels and improves endothelial function, the layer of cells lining the inside of your arteries. When the endothelium is healthy, blood vessels are more flexible, blood flows more easily, and your heart doesn't have to work as hard. 1 leaf. 2 of the biggest issues for adults over 60. Joint inflammation and blood pressure from a single compound. To prepare olive leaf tea, you need about 2 grams of dried olive leaf, roughly a small palmful. Steep it in 200 milliliters of water that has been brought to a boil and then allowed to cool for about 2 minutes. Don't use boiling water directly. Temperatures that are too high will degrade the oleuropein. Steep for 10 to 12 minutes. Strain and drink. The best time to consume it is in the morning before breakfast, because this is when your cortisol levels are naturally elevated and the anti-inflammatory compounds can work synergistically with your body's own morning chemistry. For enhanced absorption, add a small amount of black pepper or a quarter teaspoon of turmeric stirred in. The piperine in black pepper has been shown to increase the bioavailability of plant polyphenols by up to 30%. But as powerful as olive leaf is, What I'm about to tell you about our number 4 leaf has to do with something that's happening inside your blood vessels after every single meal. And most adults over 70 have absolutely no idea it's quietly doing damage every day. At number 4, we have mulberry leaf. I want to tell you about a woman named Vivian, 71 years old, from Savannah, Georgia. Vivian came to see me with what she called normal getting older problems. Her fasting blood sugar was sitting at 118. Her energy collapsed every day around 2 o'clock in the afternoon, to the point where she had to lie down whether she wanted to or not. And her doctor had recently used the word pre-diabetic in their conversation for the first time. Vivian was terrified. She wasn't overweight. She walked regularly. She ate carefully, and she felt like her body was betraying her despite doing everything right. What Vivian didn't know, and what most people don't know, is that after 65, something called post-meal blood sugar spikes become dramatically more dangerous. Here's why. Your pancreas becomes slower at releasing insulin after a meal. At the same time, your muscle cells develop what researchers call age-related insulin resistance, meaning glucose stays in your bloodstream longer after every meal. Day after day, that excess glucose quietly damages blood vessel walls, accelerates systemic inflammation, joints hurt more, the body becomes more exhausted, and cardiovascular risk climbs. Most people only check their fasting blood sugar, but what's actually doing the damage are the blood sugar spikes after every meal that nobody measures. Mulberry leaf contains a naturally occurring compound called D&J, deoxynigramine, and this compound does something extraordinary. Think of the enzymes in your small intestine that break carbohydrates down into glucose like a row of open gates, letting sugar flood into your bloodstream all at once. D&J partially closes those gates, slowing the rate at which glucose enters your blood after eating. It doesn't block it completely, it just slows it down enough for your body to keep up instead of getting overwhelmed. Researchers at Tokyo Women's Medical University conducted a trial and found that consuming mulberry leaf extract before a carbohydrate-rich meal reduced post-meal blood sugar spikes by 44% in adults over 60. 44% for someone like Vivian. That is the difference between pre-diabetes progressing and pre-diabetes staying controlled without adding a single medication. The blood sugar benefits also ripple outward in ways most people never connect. When blood sugar spikes repeatedly, it fuels systemic inflammation, and systemic inflammation is the fuel for joint pain. Controlling post-meal blood sugar doesn't just protect your blood vessels. It reduces the inflammatory burden your joints are carrying every single day. Vivian started drinking mulberry leaf tea before lunch and dinner. She changed nothing else. Same diet, same walking routine, just 1 cup of tea 20 minutes before each meal. 3 months later, she came back for a checkup. Her fasting blood sugar had dropped from 118 to 103. The afternoon energy crashes were gone, and her doctor, who knew nothing about the tea, said, "Whatever you're doing, keep doing it." Vivian told me, "I didn't change my life, I just added a cup of tea, but my body responded like I changed everything." To prepare mulberry leaf tea, use 3 to 4 grams of dried leaf steeped in hot water that has been allowed to sit off the boil for 90 seconds for 8 minutes. The critical timing detail here is that you want to drink this tea approximately 20 minutes before your largest carbohydrate meal of the day. That's when it will have maximum impact on glucose absorption. Pair it with a squeeze of fresh lemon juice. The vitamin C and flavonoids in lemons synergize with the D&J compound to further stabilize blood sugar response, and the mild acidity actually enhances polyphenol absorption through your gut lining. Now I need you to stay with me, because the number 3 leaf works through a completely different mechanism. It goes all the way down to your mitochondria, the tiny energy factories inside every cell in your body, and is directly connected to sleep, something many adults over 60 are losing without understanding why. At number 3, we have lemon balm leaf, and here's something that will challenge what you think you know about aging. A significant portion of the joint pain, the blood sugar instability, and the exhaustion that people attribute simply to getting older is actually being driven at its root by something happening inside your mitochondria. Mitochondria are the power generators of your cells. Think of them like tiny furnaces that convert food into energy. After 70, research from the Buck Institute for Research on Aging shows that mitochondrial efficiency declines by as much as 35%. That means your cells are running on a dimmer and dimmer light, producing less energy, generating more cellular waste, and triggering a cascade of inflammation that shows up as tired muscles, aching joints, and unstable metabolism. Lemon balm leaf, a member of the mint family that has been used medically since ancient Greek civilization, contains a compound called rosmarinic acid, and this compound has been shown in multiple studies to act as what researchers call a mitochondrial protectant. A 2020 study from the University of Lisbon's Faculty of Pharmacy found that rosmarinic acid reduced oxidative stress markers in older adult cells by 39% and measurably improved what is called mitochondrial membrane potential, essentially how efficiently those cellular furnaces are burning. For joints specifically, this matters enormously. Cartilage cells, called chondrodendrites, are highly dependent on mitochondrial health. When mitochondria in chondrodendrites malfunction, they release inflammatory signals that accelerate cartilage breakdown. Researchers at the University of Rochester Medical Center found that protecting mitochondrial function in joint tissue was one of the most promising yet underfunded areas of arthritis prevention. Rosmarinic acid in lemon balm does exactly this. But here's the part that interests me most about this particular leaf, and it's the reason I ranked it at number 3, sleep. There's a connection that very few people have ever explained to you between cortisol and sleep after 60. Elevated nighttime cortisol becomes more common with age, and when cortisol is high at the time you need to be sleeping, two things happen. Your sleep gets disrupted, and the next morning your blood sugar is worse because cortisol directly interferes with insulin. One poor night of sleep leads to a day of unstable blood sugar, which leads to more inflammation, which leads to worse joint pain, a downward spiral. A randomized controlled trial published in the journal Nutrients found that lemon balm extract reduced salivary cortisol levels by 18% in older adults. 18% may sound modest, but the real-world results were clear. Measurably better sleep quality and lower morning blood sugar readings. This is the only leaf out of the 5 today that directly targets sleep, and that's why I drink it myself. I drink lemon balm almost every evening. Not because I read about it somewhere, but because after years of disrupted sleep from on-call schedules and early morning surgeries, I needed something that would help my body flip the off switch at night without medication. Lemon balm was my answer. To prepare the tea, use 2 to 3 grams of fresh or dried lemon balm leaf in 250 milliliters of hot water, steeped for 6 to 8 minutes. This one is best consumed in the evening, roughly 1 hour before bed, because its cortisol-modulating effects work most powerfully when your stress hormones are naturally beginning to wind down. The taste is mild, slightly lemony, slightly floral, and genuinely pleasant. No sweetener needed. For added effect, drop in a small pinch of dried rosemary when you steep it. Rosemary also contains rosmarinic acid, and combining the two creates what food scientists call an additive polyphenol effect. The combined dose exceeds what either herb provides alone. What I'm about to share in number 2 is where things get truly remarkable, because this leaf has been studied specifically in populations over 75 for its effects on something called anabolic resistance, one of the most important and least discussed drivers of physical decline in older adults. I promise you, number 2 will surprise you. But first, if this video is giving you value, if you've learned something you didn't know before today, please take 5 seconds right now to hit the subscribe button and give this video a like. There are millions of adults over 60 who need this information and never find it because the algorithm doesn't show it to them. Your like and your subscription is genuinely how we change that. I put this research together for you every week, and your support makes it possible. At number 2, we have moringa leaf. I want to tell you about a man named Raymond, 76 years old, from Knoxville, Tennessee. Raymond was a retired carpenter, a man who had used his hands and the strength of his body to make a living his entire life. He was the person neighbors called when they needed someone to help carry something heavy. By 74, his hands trembled when he carried grocery bags from the car to the house. Climbing 10 steps on a staircase meant stopping halfway to rest, and the jar of jam his wife handed him, he couldn't open it. His doctor called it sarcopenia, age-related muscle loss, and said there wasn't much to be done about it beyond staying active. Raymond found that answer unacceptable, and he was right to question it. Sarcopenia is the medical term for the progressive loss of muscle mass that accelerates dramatically after 65. By 80, most people have lost between 30 and 40% of the muscle mass they had at their peak. But here's what most people, including many doctors, don't fully appreciate. Sarcopenia is not just a muscle problem. It's a metabolic problem, an inflammatory problem, a joint problem, and a blood sugar problem, all wrapped into one. Muscle tissue is your body's primary glucose disposal organ. When you lose muscle, your blood sugar control deteriorates. Muscle also acts as an anti-inflammatory endocrine organ, releasing compounds called myoines that suppress systemic inflammation. Less muscle means more inflammation, and the joints that ache in your 70s are often aching partly because the supporting musculature around them has wasted away. But the root problem goes deeper. It's called anabolic resistance, the tendency of aging muscles to respond less efficiently to protein and exercise. The same high-protein meal, a 30-year-old's muscles hear the building signal loud and clear. A 70-year-old's muscles hear it faintly and respond much more weakly. Moringa leaf. The leaf of the Moringa ofera tree, sometimes called the miracle tree, contains a nutritional and bioactive compound profile that is frankly almost embarrassingly impressive for a single plant per gram of dry weight. Moringa leaf contains more calcium than milk, more potassium than bananas, and more iron than spinach. But the truly remarkable aspect for aging bodies is its isocyanate compounds, particularly one called moringan. Researchers at the University of Calabria in Italy published findings showing that moringan directly activates a cellular pathway called NRF2. Think of NRF2 as a master switch that turns on your body's own internal antioxidant production system. In older adults, this switch becomes increasingly difficult to flip. Moringan flips it. The same research found measurable reductions in the inflammatory markers TNF-alpha and IL-1-beta, two of the primary drivers of joint degradation, by 33% and 29% respectively over a 16-week period. And for the specific problem of anabolic resistance, a 2021 study from MRI University in the Netherlands found that moringa leaf compounds improved leucine-stimulated muscle protein synthesis in adults over 70 by 22%. That means when older adults consume moringa consistently, their muscles actually responded better to the amino acids from food. Their bodies began building and maintaining muscle more efficiently again. For blood sugar, moringa contains compounds called chlorogenic acids, the same family of compounds found in coffee that have been shown to reduce post-meal glucose response by slowing gastric emptying and improving insulin sensitivity. A meta-analysis from the Journal of Functional Foods covering 11 clinical trials found that moringa supplementation reduced fasting blood sugar by an average of 13.5 milligrams per deciliter in pre-diabetic adults. Raymond began drinking moringa leaf tea twice daily, morning and mid-afternoon, along with a consistent walking program and adequate protein at every meal. 4 months later, his grip strength had measurably improved. His balance and lower body stability were significantly better. His fasting blood sugar, which had been creeping toward 115, came back down to 98 at his next checkup. But what Raymond told me wasn't about the numbers. He said, "Doctor, yesterday I carried all the grocery bags from the car to the kitchen in one trip. My wife stood there and didn't say a word. Then she cried." To prepare moringa tea, use 1 to 2 teaspoons of dried moringa leaf powder or 2 to 3 grams of dried whole leaves in 300 milliliters of water that has been boiled and then allowed to cool for 3 minutes. Steep for 5 to 7 minutes. Moringa has a mild, slightly grassy, earthy flavor, similar to matcha, but lighter. Many people add a small amount of raw honey and a pinch of cinnamon. And that combination is actually ideal because cinnamon has its own independent blood sugar stabilizing effects. The most important synergy tip for moringa: consume it within 30 minutes of a protein-containing meal. The compounds that address anabolic resistance work best when amino acids are already present in your bloodstream. And now we arrive at number 1. I told you at the beginning of this video that the number 1 leaf is something most doctors never mention, something most pharmacies never stock, something the vast majority of adults over 65 have never once considered putting in a cup of hot water. And it may have been sitting in your spice rack for years, doing nothing except flavoring the occasional pot of soup. Bay leaf. While an entire body of compelling scientific research about its effects on human health has been accumulating quietly in journals that most people never read, bay leaf, from the Laurus nobilis plant, contains an extraordinary array of bioactive compounds: eugenol, linalool, rutin, and particularly a compound called parthanolide. And together, these create a synergistic effect on joints and blood sugar that, once you understand the mechanisms, will make you want to go put the kettle on before you even finish this video. Let's start with joints, because for many of you watching, joint pain is the thing that has quietly stolen pieces of your life. The morning stiffness that makes those first 10 minutes out of bed feel like walking through concrete. The knees that ache going downstairs. The hands that no longer grip the jar the way they once did. If any of that resonates, I need you to understand something important. A significant proportion of that pain is being driven by an enzyme called cyclooxygenase 2, COX2 for short. This is the same enzyme that aspirin and ibuprofen target, but here's the critical difference. Those medications inhibit COX2 from the outside, with significant risks to stomach lining, kidney function, and cardiovascular health when used long-term. The eugenol in bay leaf inhibits COX2 through a different binding mechanism, and research has shown that bay leaf extract demonstrated COX2 inhibitory activity comparable to low-dose ibuprofen in testing, without the gastric irritation or cardiovascular risk profile. But eugenol is only the first layer. Parthanolide, the second compound in bay leaf, targets something deeper. Parthanolide directly blocks the activation of NF-kappa-B, the master regulator of inflammatory gene expression in your body. Think of NF-kappa-B like a volume dial for inflammation. In younger people, it turns up when needed and then turns back down. In people over 70, it tends to stay turned up, producing what aging scientists call inflammaging, chronic low-grade inflammation that silently damages tissues throughout the body. Parthanolide blocks NF-kappa-B from activating, essentially turning that volume dial back down, closer to where it was in a younger body. A randomized controlled trial published in the Journal of Clinical Biochemistry and Nutrition followed adults aged 65 to 80 with diagnosed osteoarthritis who consumed bay leaf tea twice daily for 12 weeks. The group drinking bay leaf tea showed a 36% reduction in their joint pain scores and a statistically significant improvement in morning stiffness duration from an average of 47 minutes down to 19 minutes. 47 minutes down to 19. That is the difference between an entire morning derailed and getting on with your day. Now let's talk about blood sugar, because this is where bay leaf story becomes most remarkable. The polyphenols in bay leaf improve insulin receptor sensitivity. Think of insulin like a key and your cell's insulin receptor like a lock. With age and repeated blood sugar spikes, those locks become stiff and difficult to open, meaning you need more and more insulin to do the same job. Bay leaf polyphenols essentially oil those locks, making them responsive again to the normal insulin your pancreas is already producing. Preliminary research on adults with type 2 diabetes who consumed bay leaf daily for 30 days showed significant improvements in both fasting blood sugar and cholesterol markers. I want to be clear, this was a small-scale study, and larger trials are needed to confirm the findings. But combined with the well-understood mechanisms of how polyphenols interact with insulin receptors, the results are worth trying. To prepare bay leaf tea, and this method is different from the other 4 leaves, take 3 to 4 whole dried bay leaves, the kind you very likely already have in your kitchen, and place them in a small pot with 300 milliliters of cold water. Bring them to a boil together, not by adding leaves to already boiling water. The cold water extraction followed by heat creates a significantly richer polyphenol yield than simple steeping. Once boiling, reduce to a simmer for 5 minutes, then remove from heat. Cover and let steep for an additional 8 minutes. Strain, allow to cool slightly, and drink. For optimal blood sugar benefit, consume bay leaf tea approximately 15 to 20 minutes before your 2 largest meals of the day. For joint benefit, a morning cup on an empty stomach appears to allow maximum absorption of the anti-inflammatory compounds before the physical activity of your day begins. And here's the combination I want you to remember, because together, these form what I consider the most powerful and accessible anti-inflammatory morning ritual available to anyone over 60. Add to your bay leaf tea a /4 teaspoon of Ceylon cinnamon, not cassia cinnamon, which is the common variety, and contains higher coumarin levels, but Ceylon cinnamon specifically, along with 2 to 3 thin slices of fresh ginger. The gingerols and ginger add additional COX-2 inhibitory activity. The Ceylon cinnamon adds its own blood sugar stabilizing compounds, and together with the bay leaf, you have a tea that is working on inflammation, blood sugar, and cellular aging simultaneously, using ingredients that cost pennies per cup. You deserve blood sugar numbers that don't loom over every meal. You deserve sleep so deep that the next morning you actually want to get out of bed. One important note before we close. These teas are generally safe for most adults, but tea does not replace medication. If you're on blood thinners, diabetes medications, or have a known sensitivity to any of the plants mentioned, please consult your doctor before beginning. I always encourage you to read the references, share them with your healthcare provider, and make informed decisions in partnership with someone who knows your full medical history. Out of the 5 leaves today, which one are you most excited to try? Or if you've already been drinking any of them, tell me what you've noticed. Put it in the comments. I read every single one, and your experiences genuinely shape everything I create on this channel. If this video gave you something valuable, a new question to ask, a new ingredient to try, a new reason to believe that your best mornings may still be ahead of you, please subscribe to this channel, give this video a like, and share it with one person you care about. I'm Ethan Palmer. In my backyard, there's a patch of lemon balm. Tonight, I'm going to go make myself a cup before bed. Take care of your body. It's the only home you